family members and for those who live with a mental health condition. And this is a great way to kind of bridge that gap into if you're waiting for a counseling appointment or you want to be in a community of people that understand what we're going through as loved ones and those who live with mental illness. I highly suggest those support groups. We also have educational endeavors, which is our family to family class, our basics, and then we also have peer to peer as well. These are great ways to get educated on mental health and advocate for our treatment. And then number 3, we do advocacy. We do have a resource line, and we do encourage people to call 988 for a mental health crisis. Our events and presentation team does monthly educational webinars just like this one. And we also do customized presentations for workplaces, faith communities, and schools and such. And then, of course, we do have lots of volunteer opportunities, great ways to give back and to be fully trained in ways that we can present and advocate for people with a mental health condition. So let's get into some of the events that are coming in the next couple of weeks. We do have our next family to family class. This is a fantastic class that's going to start next Thursday, August 15th. It's going to be at Valley Hope in Overland Park. And this class will be running for 8 weeks. It is free. And it's for people who have a loved one with a mental health condition. We will go through mental health education, self-care resources, crisis planning, communication skills. It is a game changer and a fantastic resource. So please take advantage of that if you are interested. We do have our NAMI in a box. This is a fantastic way to get NAMI resources into every office or, a doctor's office, waiting rooms, anywhere where people wait and have a moment to really think about mental health. And so this does come with a countertop display. It comes with removable stickers that have a mental health assessment QR code. They also have local resources and crisis lines included, and then also comes with a key tag. So you can have your crisis line numbers right with you, just like you have your gym membership and your grocery store tag as well. And I will put the links to order these in the chat. If you want those ordered, they are free for our community in Johnson County, Wyandotte, and Leavenworth County. And you're welcome to order those, and we will have those delivered to you within a week. Also, we do have our mental health book club that's coming up. It's going to be on Monday, September 9th. And this group will be reading Bones, a memoir, Anorexia, OCD, and Me, which is a fantastic book, exploring what it's like to live with anorexia, OCD. So people are asked to grab the book at the library, read it, and then come for a really good discussion on the story that is presented in this book. So we want to invite you to do that. That's a wonderful way to just really talk through some of the same issues that maybe some of our loved ones are dealing with. And then, of course, we want you to stay in touch. Our website is namijoko.org. And I highly suggest if you go on there, just go straight to the calendar app. That's probably the easiest way. Go to the calendar tab and just look through the events and the support groups coming up. So once again, we will be posting this video on our YouTube site. So you'll want to search through that with NAMI Joko KS, NAMI Johnson County, Kansas. And then you'll be able to watch this or forward it on to anyone who you think might need to see this. All right.
Okay. Welcome, first of all, everybody who's joined us. I appreciate it because I know this is a busy time of the summer. It's kind of the end of the summer for some of you that have kids going back to school or going to college or whatever. So we all appreciate that you're joining us tonight. And as Kelly mentioned, we are taping this. So I probably will turn off my camera and mute myself through most of this, but I will be monitoring the chat. So if there's questions in the chat, Tara's given me permission to kind of jump in and share with her any questions that she can answer as they're asked. So that's my goal. But I first want to introduce Tara Triplett, and welcome, Tara. Thank you for agreeing to do this and this topic. And it's not, please know, the topic may lead you to think, oh, it's really political. It's not a political topic, but it really is just because this seems to be the season of political campaigns and sometimes creates anxiety. And also, how do we sometimes if we have different opinions with people? So it's overall, but it's not based on any political party, anything like that. So I'm giving you up front with that. But I want to tell you a little bit about Tara because she's fascinating. I got to meet her in the last month or so, and she's just very, very interesting and dynamic of what she does. And she's going to join us in 2025, early part of 2025, to share on schizophrenia, hope in schizophrenia. So that'll be coming up early 2025. So Tara is a licensed social worker with over 20 years of experience providing mental health services. Throughout her career, she has developed a strong passion for mental health advocacy, recognizing a gap in communication within the mental health field. Tara established Give It To Me Straight behavioral health consultants and recovery coaching. It's a mouthful, but she got it in there. During her tenure, and she did this during her tenure with psychiatrists, she observed that medical professionals sometimes fail to provide patients and their families with transparent information. This realization inspired Tara to create a platform where mental health professionals can offer honest and supported guidance to families in need. So with that, and Tara, anything that you want to add about yourself, because you're pretty incredible, please feel free to do that. But we welcome you, and I'm looking forward to hearing tonight's presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Vicki, and thank you, Kelly, for inviting me today to do the presentation for NAMI. This is not a first for me, but it is a little different for me because we are going to be talking about anxiety and resolving conflict in this election season. So I really would like this to be more of a conversation. I would love this to be more of a conversation. I keep looking at Amanda's picture and it looks like she's right there. So that's great. I love it because now I can look at you, even though you won't have an expression, but you're smiling. So that'll give me some ease. So anyway, I am going to start sharing my screen and we'll go from there. There. And boom. Can everyone see that? I can't see
Yes,
you.
I
So,
can see it.
okay, cool. I don't know what I did not to be able to see you. I know what here we go. Okay, so here we go. Show taskbar. So the topic of today's,
sorry, Tara, it's plain there's nothing on the screen now.
there's nothing on the screen. Okay.
Yeah, it was on and then it just turned off. So I don't know.
Hey, presenters, can you see it now?
There it is. Yep. I see it. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. So today's topic is managing anxiety and conflict during an elections. And my name is Tara Triplett. I am a licensed mental health social worker, and I have been in the field for over 20 years. Not so much talking about this though, but I have had some conversations about anxiety. So the first thing we're going to look at is understanding election anxiety. What is it? We're going to look at some techniques for managing anxiety, some conflict resolution strategies, and then we're going to open it up for any questions and discussions. So what is anxiety? Anxiety in itself is a natural response to stress or perceived danger. The response can both be mental and physical, and is usually characterized by feelings of worry, nervousness, or unease about an impending event or uncertain outcome, such as me getting on NAMI and doing a presentation. So I have a little bit of anxiety today. But what is election anxiety? And election anxiety refers to the stress and anxiety triggered by the anticipation and uncertainty surrounding elections. This type of anxiety can be caused by various factors. And if you look at the emojis, they just kind of signify how people may begin to feel. I kind of made a happy face because I'm a little goofy, but here we go. So some anxiety factors associated with the upcoming elections. It's just simply some uncertainty about the outcome. The unknown results of an election can create instability and worry about the future. Media overload, which is huge. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And that's the constant exposure to election news and debates and that advertisement. I think I was watching TV earlier, and I think I counted at least 7 to 8 commercials back to back to back about each other, one way or the other. And then even when I put together this presentation today and I uploaded a video, I couldn't get the commercial to come out. And it just so happens that the commercial that won't come off my video off of YouTube is an election commercial. So how about that? And then the simple polarization and conflict. That's a divisive nature of political campaigns in themselves. Can lead to potential conflict with friends, family, loved ones, colleagues, and just over differing political views, and can increase stress levels all by themselves. That's another thing that we'll kind of talk a little bit more about, the conflict that will arise and how to resolve that conflict, and then just having your personal stakes, your personal impact, how this election is going to impact you, your community, your well-being, your job. It's just so many factors that contribute, that are associated with an upcoming election. Okay, so the one thing that we talked about is media overload. And let me just show you the video, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the description.
The St. Louis Post-Dispatch endorses Wesley Bell for Congress. Bell has remained true to progressive priorities, moving low-level offenders toward treatment instead of incarceration, and refusing to prosecute.
Uh-oh. I did something.
Missouri's new abortion ban.
I did it again. Hold on, sorry.
There's only one conservative tough enough to be Missouri's governor. Mike Kehoe is standing with law enforcement, and he's cracking down on illegal.
Tomorrow's election has you on edge. You're certainly not alone. The American Psychological Association reports, in fact, 52% of Americans are suffering with election stress disorder, and it's happening to people across the political spectrum. Our Amy Johnson explores the causes this afternoon and what you can do about it.
There's no better governor in America. You to get off your couch and vote.
From the look of the ads, the stakes couldn't be higher. And there's a reason campaigns work to drum up our fears.
Your fear response is a survival mechanism. So if we put you into a fearful place, then this is a question about survival.
Which will cause you to react.
Be more likely to respond to whatever fear tactic they are pushing forward.
Dr. Benjamin Tubia is professor of marriage and family therapy at the Chicago School in downtown LA. He says patients on all sides are reporting election anxiety.
They feel like this country is at the lowest that it's ever been in. And when you have those thoughts circling around in your mind, you are more persuadable to vote for the person who you think is going to carry you through that dark time.
And that can create conflict with loved ones voting differently from you. Dr. Tubia says improving relationships can really reduce anxiety. And instead of dwelling on differences, discuss the values that you share.
What motivates my voting? What do I care about?
From there, you have to share your choices and reasons without offending.
That this candidate affords this for me, and that's why I'm voting for him or her, because they support these values that I have.
If you're still uncertain as to how to vote,
talk to people who share similar values as you to see how they're voting and to see why they're choosing one candidate over another.
Once you vote, consider disconnecting.
Take a meal, go for a hike, take that time away, do things that are not related to the election at all.
One thing to avoid, letting anxiety lead to abstaining.
There is no getting it wrong when it comes to voting. Voting is a sacred right of our democracy.
I was Amy Johnson.
All right. So media overload happens when you're overwhelmed by the amount of information available through various media channels like the radio, television, social media, the internet. There's so many different ways that uh, those advertisements have access to us nowadays that maybe I would say 20, 30 plus years ago, there wasn't, only thing we could do is watch TV. Now it's when you pick up your phone, it's when you go on YouTube, it's when you are driving down the street, you see this never ending amount of information pertaining to the election. And when the volume of the information exceeds our capacity to process it, that's when we become we become stressed and unable to focus. I am trying to make it to where I could see people, but I can't. There we go. So, but you guys can't see me. So I turned off the presentation to ask people, are they experiencing? Anyone can hop on or say it in the chat if they like, Miss Amanda, Miss Julie, or Miss Snyder. Are you guys experiencing any anxiety in regards to this election? You can say it in the chat if you like.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. And what are you doing? How are you coping with that? What are you doing to manage that?
Trying to stay away from the news and trying to just keep myself busy dealing with workshops, webinars, trainings, and things like that. Journaling, word search puzzles, inspirational videos, prayer, all those things.
Those are all things that it's suggested that we do in order to keep our sanity during this election year and to keep the anxiety down. I'm going to go back to
Miss Tara,
yes.
this is Vicky. I was struck by one statement that the gentleman said that with anxiety level, we tend to abstain from things. But I also think during this election, and not just this election, in general, when you're bombarded with all that, and who was it? Whoever just was talking, I missed the first name. I think it is good for me. I know for me, when I realize when I get too focused on it, and I'm just listening to all those things and it's all coming at me, that I have to step away and go take a walk or do something else, or go, visit with someone and go, I'm not dealing with this right now. So that's kind of my one way of kind of dealing with it when I know I'm obsessed, when I'm obsessing about it, and that's all I can kind of think about it. And then I go, I need to step away. So.
Right. Thank you. Thank you guys for chiming in. And so what that's called, and it's not a DSM diagnosis, but they call it election stress disorder. Can you imagine there's a disorder for everything nowadays? And it's a term that's coined by a Maryland therapist. He described it as stress and anxiety triggered by election news that spills into our work, our social life, and in our family. So when you're at work, someone's talking about it. When you are, well, of course, in social media, when you're just out with family and friends. And it, like I said, it's not an official diagnosis, but many people experience that stress during this election season due to factors like the negative campaigns, the continual news alerts, the social media feuds, that spread of misinformation. All of that contributes to our anxiety and can lead to leads to anxiety. So here are some practical tips for managing election anxiety, which I've already heard a lot of this from you guys. We limit our news intake. We set specific times to just check the news for updates and try to avoid consuming it right before bedtime, right? We practice mindfulness, doing things that deep breathing, that yoga, the thing that takes us out of that element of experiencing that high intense of anxiety, whether we experience it in our physical or we experience anxiety mentally. I heard Ms. Schneider say, I just cut it off, take breaks from social media and the news and reduce information overload. The other thing that has been very popular amongst that is now very popular is that staying active. Physical activity can help manage stress. So it's simply taking a walk, any form of exercise you enjoy, and connecting with others and people that are just not really talking about that election right then and there. So let's look at this video. This should make you chuckle. How do we address conflict? And so I want you guys to look at this video and think about what just happened when as they're addressing their conflict. Here we go. And it's on my videos are only 2 to 3 minutes long. So here we go. Okay. I just thought that was so cute. So just for discussion purposes, that hippo and that bear, neither would compromise. Have you guys seen that anywhere recently?
Yes. Well, and I can only speak to my family, but I feel like we get our news from two totally different sources. And so there is no measure of truth. Like nobody knows the other side. And so you just hit, you know what I mean?
Bump heads all the time.
And there's no middle ground. Like it's just gotten worse and worse. And I feel like some people are more reactive.
Similar to the bear and the hippo, right? And so what about this rabbit and this raccoon and them? So their conflict, the hippo and the bear's conflict got in the way of what the rabbit and the raccoon was trying to do, which was cross over to the other side. And so it just speaks volumes to how when we're in conflict with each other, it affects those around us as well, right? And so what did they do, right? I thought it was so funny. Did the rabbit and the raccoon handle that situation appropriately?
Well, yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yeah, they at least so they got rid of the bigger problems, right? Not in the nicest way, but they at least handled their conflict by working together.
Right. They worked together. to handle that the bigger, because they were both bigger than them, right? And then what was also simply amazing to me is the two people in conflict, and generally this is what it is two people that their needs are not getting met, but at the end of the day, when they had this big life altering thing that was going on with them. Did you see them come together and hug and scream before, I just think that speaks volumes to even our relationships with our families. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about maintaining those relationships, the ones with our families and our coworkers, people that we care about, because a lot of the stuff that's going on in the election, we can't do anything about anyway. The one thing that we can do is just vote, right? And then the results are in the voters' hands, right? So I'm going to go back to the presentation. Here we go.
And Tara,
Yes.
Amanda had put in the chat, she just said absolutely.
Yes.
I know for me, when I have we have differences of opinions. Excuse me. I found, first of all, I have to stop and think, what hill do I want to die on? Is this really one that I want to die on with this? And so then I try to reframe my thinking to go, what do we have in common? I try to find something in common and use that as my foundation, as opposed to just going back and forth. Yes, no, right, wrong, those type of things. Just going, okay, what do we have in common? Be it we want safety for our children or whatever it might be. So I kind of use that to get a foundation, so it's not just so back and forth, and
so it's not so back and forth, because like the bear and the hippo, their common ground at the end of the video was, oh crap, we're getting ready to fall into this whatever, and they had to come together. And I think as a society, at the end of the day, regardless to what the outcome of the election is, right, is that we come together and continue to function in a way that's productive for our families and for our kids and for our workplaces, right? Okay, so here we go. That's weird too. Let's see. Share. All right, so I see myself, but I don't see anything else. Okay. So we talked about this and we did the hippo. So the one thing I would ask is conflict even normal? I can't see you guys, so anyone can respond.
Yes.
Yeah.
Normal.
It is. It's a normal part of life. Just like our emotions are a normal part of life. Conflict is normal between people. Conflicts between people are a normal and natural and inevitable part of life, at work, at home, and in all our relationships with others. It's inevitable, and that's just the way we were created. We are unique, in our own right. We're all unique and we all have differences of opinion. So somewhere in there, we're not all going to agree. And I think if we did all agree on everything, it would kind of be a boring society. And here's the thing, unfortunately, what most people don't really accept is the fact that we get surprised or distressed when it's clear that a conflict has emerged. So now I am offended all of a sudden because you don't agree with me. And the reality is that we're not going to agree on everything. So conflicts are often due to differences in perspective, needs, and values. Our personal values, our beliefs, our priorities can create friction. For example, what one person considers important may not be valued by another person. Communication issues, misunderstandings, or lack of clear communication can lead to conflicts. When people don't listen to each other or misinterpret messages, tensions can escalate. I'm gonna stop share. I am going to pick on Kelly.
Yes.
Start talking to me about the weather or something.
Well, it's been
Well,
really
I
hot,
don't know
and
about
then
the
and I
I
hope it
think, but
rains.
I think the sun's shining.
Well, yeah, well,
And
no, the sun went down.
no, the moon, it's the moon, and now it's the clouds, right? And the stars. Keep talking.
And so I hope it rains because I really love a good rainy
I don't
day
like rain.
or a
Rain sucks.
thunderstorm.
Rain, rain sucks. Right? Can you imagine? So as she's trying to share her opinion, what she's trying to say to me, I'm already 2 steps ahead of her thinking what I want. I'm not even able to hear what she's trying to say because I'm too busy trying to get my point across. That is going to cause major conflict. When two people are not listening to each other, sometimes it's just, and it's rude, but this is what it's rude to myself. I have to tell myself, Tara, shut up and listen. And because I'm 2 steps ahead or already thinking of the answer, and that's contributed to my personality, my unique personality. I'm already trying to think what you're getting ready to say, and I want to have the answer to whatever the problem is, or I want you to make sure that you hear my point of view before I can even hear what your point of view is. So that's always going to cause a problem, not being able to listen to each other.
Yeah.
Back.
And Tara, one thing you said was like, we're not really listening. We're like formulating our response, and that like, I like how you said that because a lot of times there's so much value in someone else's knowledge or opinion. And I like, just personally, I enjoy hearing why it's important to the other person. It's just a really rich conversation, but yeah, so it's a good point. Thank you.
Okay. And the other, am I on the right one? Wait. Let me go. Boom. So conflicts, communication issues, resource limitations. Oftentimes, one of the reasons for conflict is people are competing for resources. This is common in both professional and personal settings. Kids even sometimes will be in competition for their parents' time or their attention. Not even conscious of that's what's happening, but some resources can be limiting and can cause conflict. Some other reasons for conflicts is personality differences. I just talked about myself. It says individual personality traits and behaviors can clash, leading to disagreements. For instance, an extroverted person might find an introverted person need for solitude frustrating. That's me and my husband. So I am the extroverted person. I am the social butterfly, and he is the person that's quiet. And sometimes that's frustrating. And we're newly married, so yeah. Incompatible goals. When people have different objectives or goals, conflicts can arise. This often is seen in the workplace where team members might have different priorities. And then those emotional triggers. Jealousy, anger, and frustration can fuel conflicts. Emotional responses can sometimes overshadow rational thinking, making a resolution more challenging. So once I am out of my window of tolerance, there's no way I'm able to hear what you're saying, or am I rational at that point? Oftentimes what happens is that when I am working out of an emotional response, I have to dial it back before a resolution can even come about. And we just talked about all of this. Some of the keys to resolving conflict is that active listening. So we know that communication in itself is a two-way street. It requires two people communicating. So one person is talking, one person is listening. And we listen in other ways more than just being quiet. We pay attention. That's a way to show that we are listening. We are nodding our head. We are just giving that person we're being present in the moment. That's a way that we can actively listen to someone. And we try to do that without interrupting. Um, and I have to show that I value what that other person is saying. The other thing is empathy. That is huge. Understanding the other person's emotions and unique perspectives, acknowledging their feelings. So being able to not to walk in someone's shoes and try to understand where they are coming from. And it still may be, you still may not agree, but that's not the point to agree or to be right. The point is to have some empathy and understand. And again, we talked about communication being nonverbal cues and so forth and so on. The thing I heard someone say is that being open-minded, we have to embrace each other's differences. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. That's how we get better as a human being, listening to other people, ideas that are different from us, and embracing the differences and being willing to learn from other cultures. And to avoid making those assumptions, what we think we know about another culture may be totally different. So this happens often. This conflict can arise between just say black and white people. A black person can see a white person and think, oh, this white person is racist, or the white person can see the black person and think the same thing, or think something ill of them based off what they think they know or what they heard, and not that individual person.
That's such a good point.
It is.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, because there's so much value in hearing the other person's, like I said before, just like their experience, their take on things, their perspectives, because it just adds just such great depth to our understanding of each other. So I really like that point.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just think how boring the world would be in itself, or things that wouldn't even exist if we weren't willing to listen to each other.
Yeah, Tara, I have a friend who has a tagline in her email that surround yourself with friends who make you think, but not like you. And which is, to your point, it's so important to listen and get other people's viewpoints. And it doesn't mean at the end of the conversation you agree with them even, but at least you have a better understanding of where they were coming from, and maybe they have a better understanding where you're coming from, so you can kind of have some sort of a civil conversation. And sometimes it does change. I call my step back moments, and I go, oh, I never thought about it from that perspective.
Right.
And it gives me something to kind of mull over and to ponder, ponder is my word for the year. So I ponder it. But I think it's very important, because I think you talked about the whole empathy and the rational. We become irrational when it's like we've got to win. We've got to win somebody over to how we're thinking, as opposed to just saying, hey, let me understand what you're thinking about. And what's your rationale for that? And have a conversation that way. And that sounds, we're all probably not as anxious right now tonight, but it's easier to say that when you're sitting there and you're kind of calm. When you get into the heat of the moment sometimes, and that's where you have to I have to step back and go, whoa, Vicki, listen, is this really a life or death thing right now? Let's go and kind of get the empathy going as opposed to the irrational thoughts. But anyway, so thank you. I agree with what you were saying.
Right, because our emotions get involved, right? And for society in itself has created this world where I need to be right, I need to win, I need you to acknowledge who I am, what I'm saying. I need this validation, period, whether it's good or bad, right? I just need to be correct. And that creates a lot of anxiety and conflict within ourselves when I'm not able to take a step back and even say, you know what, Terry, you're wrong. That's wrong of you. You know, that wasn't right. And what it does when I'm able to do that is it brings a sense of calm to me, so I no longer have to be anxious just because I think I'm right. Right. And the other thing I would like to add, which is not in my PowerPoint, is that it's okay to allow someone to be wrong, right? It's okay. It's okay. I don't have to expend a lot of energy fighting with you about your views. It's okay if I know you're wrong and I don't have to let you know that you're wrong, right? I can just keep moving. Okay, thank you, Amanda. Okay, let's keep it moving. We're almost toward the end now. Okay, share. I'm getting the hang of this. So this next video is talking about prioritizing your mental health amid this tense election season. Now, what I want you guys to think about is this video, this clip was 2020. I want you to see if what's the difference, if any?
Like blank canvas or a silent film, if you will, in which we happen to project our worst thoughts, and it's kind of called catastrophizing. And one of the things that we can do is, you know, this election for me, the theme has been that people are trying to change the things that they cannot accept. But then at a certain point where we are right now, we have to accept the things that we cannot change. And so much of the pandemic has been fighting a battle on two fronts, dealing with all of the stuff that's happening outside, with people getting sick and losing jobs and protests, wildfires, hurricanes, but then there's the mental health challenges. So what's going on in our own head? And that's what I really want people to focus on right now, is that we did our due diligence up until this point in terms of advocating and being activists in our community and voting. And at this point, we have to take care of our mental health. So, you know, I'd love to share some simple tips that everybody can do.
But it doesn't help when you have a leaf blower like blowing in your ear either.
The hum of anxiety is not the only thing we're dealing with.
Exactly, yes.
I want to pick up, Sue, on what Anthony was saying about, listen, it was already thought that Election Day would be one of the most stressful days of the year. But as Anthony pointed out, we've got Corona, we've got job loss, we've got economy, we've got racial unrest, we've got social discord. So how in the world do you cope when you've got so many different levels of stress and anxiety?
Absolutely. So look, you know, when it comes to anxiety, we talk about the productive aspect of it, which is what helps you make an action plan. So are there things in your life that need taken care of? So look, you know, looking for the job, taking care of your health. But then there's the unproductive anxiety, which is where our wheels are spinning. And that's where the, you know, sort of tips can come in, where are you able to distract yourself and self-soothe? Those are kind of distractions, self-soothing, grounding. And one thing that I'm finding extremely beneficial that we don't talk about enough is the role of nature in mental health. And, you know, in many parts of the world, this is now becoming a prescription. We find that nature can be extremely grounding. It can lower your heart rate. It can lower your blood pressure. And you know what's really interesting is that in the prior election in 2016, in just a couple of days after the election, there were more hospitalizations for cardiac-related symptoms, palpitations, people feeling dizzy, thinking that they were having a heart attack. So getting out in nature can really be good for not only your cardiac health, but also your mental mental health. And we found that a lot of times people just looking at green spaces, it was calming. And you don't have to be out hiking in the mountains. We're just talking about the park down the street from you. People who are able to spend 2.5 hours a week, not in a day, in a week. So breaking it up in small chunks and being in green spaces found less anxiety and less depression. So being in nature is huge. If you have pets, if anyone you know has pets, spend time with them. That source of unconditional love, bonding with children, with people that you love. If you're able to do it in a safe way, oxytocin is a huge cuddle hormone. So all of these things are important. Movement, especially before 10 a.m. in the morning, getting access to daytime sunlight, that's huge because our sleep, insomnia, problems with that is really big right now.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Sue Varma, thank you very much. And since you mentioned the cuddle hormone, but cuddling wasn't on the bullet sheet there, I think we should add cuddling.
Yes,
So
I think
dogs, nature.
I will say on the nature thing, Central Park has been my savior in this.
I know,
Walking
you
in
said
Central
that.
Park, I don't know what I would have done without it.
You said that.
So I mean, she's dead on.
You need to follow your advice about that.
Okay. So then it says anxiety of 2020 versus the 2024 anxiety. Here's what I want to talk about as in regards to that video. Okay. Okay, here's what I want to talk about. So what she said was, it was so profound to me. It says people are more so concerned with changing the things they can't accept versus accepting the things they cannot change. Did that strike a chord with anyone? Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. It struck a chord with me. I know. I was like, okay, that is so good. And then imagine, is there much difference between what happened in 2024, the anxiety that was happening in 2024 and the conflict versus, 2020 versus what's happening now here in 2024? There's not much difference. But guess what? We made it. We made it, right? Right? We made it and we did what we could do to make it. And hopefully we made it with our loved ones, the relationship still intact. Even if we had differences of opinions at that time. The other thing that was profound to me is that she said the day after election, people are going to the hospital with heart attacks. Now, I don't know, I can't call any of the elected officials when I'm in the hospital having a heart attack to pay my copay or to soothe my family or anything, right? So the question I would ask is it really worth it? What do you guys think?
I mean, you've been spot on the whole time. Like I used to be very political and I do have some strong values, but I just got to step away. The nature thing has been huge for me. Yeah, just the hate and the lies. Like, that's just done. Same as 4 years ago. So I just
Right. It's the same.
Yeah.
People are still working out of the mindset of trying to change things that they can't accept versus accepting the things that they cannot change. It's so profound to me when she said that. The other thing I love what she said was, and I should have put it in we can handle 4 years of anything. Yeah, this too shall pass no matter which side you're on. You are absolutely right, Miss Julie. This too will pass. And if we were able to handle 4 years, we've been able to handle that. We can handle this. We can handle anything that's going on. What's important is that we keep our mental health together. And we do that by practicing some of those things that she talked about and not allowing the political fight to consume us or eat up our loved ones. We don't want like that bear. We don't want just to be bumping heads with people. No. Anyway, the other thing I love what she said was the oxytocin and the cuddle hormone, right? Right. I should have put that on my slide. If you don't agree, cuddle, because that's what that bear and that hippo end up doing, right? That's what they end up doing when they were falling. They grabbed each other, right? So I just thought that was just so cool. But yes, we can make it. And we are going
Tara,
to make it. Mm-hmm.
Kara, this is Vicky, but I recently read a book and it was set in the 60s about some historical things, a historical book about the 60s. And you realized how much went on. I'm old enough, I lived through the 60s. Others of you may not have, but, and there was so much going on there and strife and protest and all of those things in the 60s. And it helped me step back and go, you know what, we lived through that, right? We made it through the 60s. So that's really it really helped me put that in perspective of, okay, we can survive all of this. And the other thing was the grounding. I have a good friend, and a couple people now have talked to me about grounding, but they've talked about, and there's probably a name for it, and you may know, I don't know what, but
It's called grounding.
But you go outside and you actually, with your bare feet, you're on dirt, and she goes out, and at night, then she sits in her chair and with her feet on the ground, and just kind of that mindfulness and meditation type of thing. But she said it's been great. She watched the sunset the other night, and I thought, oh, so now I when I go outside, I try to take my shoes off and just walk in the grass, right, and feel that, and feel the dirt on your feet. So I've just heard that now recently in the last few months about how therapeutic, how helpful it is, how that much is helpful. So thanks.
Right. So, and just, I don't know about you guys, but I can recall a time when people made fun of they call them tree huggers. Right. Right. Now we're out rubbing our toes in the grass, and we want to feel that, right? And I think that had something to do with when the virus happened and we were so isolated and stuck that it made us appreciate some of the things such as the grass, the moon, the stars, the wind, all of that, because the whole world in itself was shut down, but we could go outside and put our feet in the grass, right? Yeah. So though, yes. And Miss Vicky, one of the things that is called visualization and meditation, but there is also a technique that we can use called grounding. You can do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do like your senses. Now, 5 things you see, 4 things you smell, 3 things you hear, 2 things you can touch, stuff like that. That is a grounding exercise. Or what I do with some of the people that I work with sometime, instead of doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing, when they tell me they're experiencing anxiety, I tell them to count how many, it's usually something reasonable in a building. If we're in a building, how many windows you see, how many squares you see, right? What colors do you see? Just different thing. And it takes your mind away from that anxiety you're experiencing, because you're focusing now on, oh, I see a blue this or a blue that, or I see a square or it's a rectangle. So now we're looking around and the focus is not so much on, what I'm feeling or what I'm experiencing, as to let me look for this stuff that she's telling me to look for. So that is an awesome technique when a person is experiencing anxiety. And I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint, and I am almost finished. Oh, okay, here it is. There. And boom. So we looked at that. So again, experiencing anxiety during conflicts is a normal response. Talking with someone we disagree with is unpredictable and can be a nightmare for a lot of us. Tensions escalate quickly, especially in times of uncertainty. And in our present political climate, many of us are experiencing a breakdown in our ability to engage the other side. When these channels of communications fail, it can represent a significant loss to our relationships, our families, our communities, and even our democracy. So if all else fails, agreeing to disagree. What that does is it simply reduces the conflict. It can strengthen the relationship. It promotes respect. I'm not arguing back and forth with you. It even can enhance problem solving if we agree to disagree and we can put our minds together. It encourages that open dialogue and maintains harmony, right? And we are at the end of the presentation. So are there any questions? I maybe have some answers, some comments, discussion, and feedback. And that's who I am. I thank you guys for your time and attention. I am Tara Triplett with Give It To Me Straight, Behavioral Health Consultations and Recovery Coaching. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. That is my contact information. If you have a presentation that you would like me to do, or if you have some conflict within your family or know someone that needs some recovery coaching. And I'm not only talking about recovery from substance use, I am really talking about mental health as a whole coaching. I do all of that. So again, that's who I am, and I thank you.
Okay, Tara, so does that mean what we should do is when we start getting our anxiety up or feeling like we're butting heads with somebody, I think you should just take them and say, we're going to go for a walk with bare feet and we're going to hug some trees. What do you think? Would that help? Or
That
hug
would-
each other?
that-
But go walk outside and
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed even when I've done individual sessions with people, just when I'm doing individual sessions, oftentimes I'm a person, I don't want to sit in an office in a desk behind you. I say, let's meet in the park and let's walk and talk. Let's walk it out. Let's talk it out, because it does so much for our mental health, and it puts people at ease when they're out in nature.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any
Anybody?
questions?
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and
Thank you.
and the conversation. Anyone
Yes.
else?
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you doing this for us. It's been a really good discussion, and I think just bringing to light what I think some of us can tilt into that, overconsumption, over worry and obsession or whatever about, things we can't control. And I think that this is just a really good perspective, because we can't win every battle. And I think sometimes there's truth to both sides.
Right.
And we don't know everything. So like,
But I don't want to win. I don't want to win everything. I've heard it said, if you're amongst people and you're the smartest person in the room, you probably need to get some new friends.
yes. But I appreciate this. Has been great. I look forward to you coming back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. See you guys later.